Hello and welcome to San Diego Pride. We're here to talk today about our Art of Pride program that's run by John Keasler. My name is Fernando Lopez. I'm the Executive Director of San Diego Pride, and I use they, them, their pronouns. Please welcome to join us today the founder of Art of Pride, John Keasler.
Thank you, Fernando. Thanks for the introduction. It's always good to see the people at Pride. I have enjoyed working with them so much. The crew there, the staff there, always fun group to get together with. And I really feel like Art of Pride has a place in this organization. And I'm not really the founder. I'm just an early artist. No. Yeah, let's keep history straight.
Thanks. Who's the founder?
Not straight, but correct. Yeah. But Judy, the beauty at the Big Kitchen, was the person that actually pulled us together that first year in 2005.
It's Judy?
Judy, yes.
Oh my gosh, next time I see her, I'm gonna have to.
Well, when you think of the Big Kitchen and all the artwork that it has in it and all the artists that she's been exposed to, somebody said, well, why don't we do this at Pride? And it was, I'm trying to think of the other person who, there was another woman who came in and said, yeah, I'll work on it. And so that was our founding mothers, as it be. So, and I was there with when they first did it in 2005. And then I think the second year I took it over and shared it with some other people, and as far as coordinating it. And so it's been my pleasure for the past 15 years to be a part of it and to watch it grow. So.
Well, I know that, so every couple months, you really use Pride's office to highlight different artists. And obviously, since we can't bring folks together into the office space, we wanted to highlight an incredible artist, Joe Phillips, who will be joining us just here in a few minutes. But because we aren't able to be together, we wanted the opportunity for you to be able to talk about Art of Pride and what that means as part of the year-round programming of the organization, and also what that means at the festival itself.
Yeah. And we kind of, maybe in the first couple of years, we didn't do that. We used, I think the second or third year, in 2007, we actually went to a business in Hillcrest, and they allowed us to show our work there. And after that, and I'm not sure that the year Pride moved into the new offices, you know when that was?
I think it was in 2008 or 9.
Okay, yeah, that's when we looked at the walls and we went, you need art. So we got permission to start hanging art shows. And like you said, it's every other month, and we always welcome in new talent. And that's kind of one of the missions of Art of Pride, is to encourage LGBTQ artists and maybe provide them with venues that they wouldn't otherwise have to show their work and to get known in the art world. And so that area has having that physical space has been very important with us. And then also bringing on shows like the Youth Art Show, where we have young people that are engaged in other programs there at Pride. And then once a year, they have an opportunity to bring their work out and show it. And that's always a major turnout for that event.
Yeah, and it was really sad that one couldn't happen in person this year. And Alex Villafuerte, who's our marketing communications person, actually helped to found the annual Youth Art Show. And I love that the youth come up with a theme themselves every year, and they really use art as an advocacy tool. And, here at Pride, we are, we use art as advocacy, whether it's music or paintings and drawings. And just, I think art is such a powerful tool for advocacy. And can you talk about that as part of maybe the mission of Art of Pride?
Yes. I think back years ago, I mean, art has always been part of the LGBTQ community, and we have always had great artists in our community. And going back, I mean, centuries, we've had great artists, and certainly many of them have been able to be out as far as to the world, and the world would accept them because they were such geniuses.
Mm.
And we looked at their work and we said, hey, these people are okay. I don't care who they're sleeping with. And I think that as we bring that in kind of into the modern world, and we say, you know, okay, this is going to be part of our statement to the world that yes, we're okay, yes, we're acceptable. And I'm looking at it from a 50-year-old view. I mean, 50 years ago, it was very hard to get anything in the media, in the press, in any mentions of LGBTQ subjects or stuff like that. And and it was the art. I think in part it was the art and the activism that brought us into the forefront and brought us into the press and stuff like that. And I think, and I just see Art of Pride as carrying that on. I was engaged with AIDS Art Alive for a decade. And AIDS Art Alive was an art therapy group run out of what was Baby Cakes, and prior to that was David's Place.
Yeah.
And they gave us their garages as art studios. And it was a powerful organization in that David's Place originally was founded for a comfortable place for people with AIDS to go to relax with friends in a social setting and still be welcome, because at that time there was a lot of stigma. And AIDS Art Alive kind of grew out of that. We said, okay, you get their hands engaged in a creative process and their mouths open and their hearts speak. And so I think that whole art genre continued, and it's evolved into Art of Pride now. And the fact that we not only look at well-known artists or artists that are very commercially successful, but we also look at emerging artists or artists that may have simply a statement to make that they're not going to be allowed in another venue to make that statement. So
yeah, I think that's important. That you're so right, and even I think for quite a while, even in gay and lesbian art spaces, the trans community wasn't necessarily as welcome for a while. And one of the pioneering showcases that you did here with Art of Pride was was Invisible Bodies, Trans Narratives Retold. Yeah. And that was shown here in the Pride office for the first time, and you were able to bring that here for us. And I remember when we sent that press release, and they got some national media attention, and that really helped to elevate the story of our trans community and these trans artists in a different way. And so I really love that that's the platform that you're able to build for folks, and that we're able to share, to tell these stories and break down that stigma and those barriers.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Is that what does it feel like to know that that's sort of what you're able to do in service to our community?
It's totally rewarding. I mean, it's totally gratifying. But I feel like I'm terribly lucky. I feel like we're very fortunate in San Diego in several ways, because I've watched the development, and we're kind of an organic community. We've kind of grown from our roots here in the lovely, warm, outgoing, friendly Southern California setting. This couldn't exist anyplace else. I don't think it could. And I think that's something that we can all be very proud of, is the fact that we kind of, and you're an example of it, of coming from your background and then rising to your position of service to the community. And I think, and that's part of it. I think of the leaders in San Diego, and their careers have been based around service, not around profit or gain or anything like that, but mostly around service and continuing to grow that element. And I think that's what we've seen in the festival, and that's what we see but year round. That's what we see year round with the whole Pride organization is we're constantly looking for ways to give back to the community and to make the community grow. And certainly we've got some wonderful young people who come along and we don't see them coming, and they're ready to do it. They're ready to help, and they're not thinking about, oh yeah, I've got to do this or I've got to do that, but they're ready to explore and find new avenues. And that's another great thing about working in art is it's all about exploration, and it's all about experimentation. And we can look at stuff and maybe, I can't imagine 20 years ago having all the beautiful murals that we have on all the walls around North Park and town and Hillcrest and stuff like that. But somehow somebody broke that barrier. Maybe it was the utility boxes. Maybe that's where we started. It was the person who came up with the idea of let's paint utility boxes. And now we have these beautiful artworks, and they're urban. They're very in touch with where we are right now and where we are as a society right now. And yet they kind of sprung up on the walls. They kind of grew on the walls and created, and just complement our community for what we are and stuff like that. So
I've seen that emerge, and I've seen a lot of these murals pop up even recently with on these buildings being boarded up and people painting on these boarded up buildings. And a lot of that being led by our queer communities of color and really organizing around taking these things and sort of just making them beautiful. So I think we're working on Joe's camera right now. We're going to go ahead. He's ready to join us. So thank you for sharing about Art at Pride. We're getting ready to introduce Joe Phillips, who's an artist, animator, designer, and sculptor based right here in San Diego, California. His commercial works have appeared internationally in books, magazines, and products since 1983. He's a veteran of the comic book industry, having penciled interiors and covers for publishers including Dark Horse, IDW, Image, Wildstorm, DC, and Marvel. And I'm a huge fan of Joe. Please welcome Joe Phillips. Hi there, Joe.
Hi. You can't see me because I can't see anybody.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I know. You're talking to a complete Luddite here. I am. I've pressed the buttons. We have audio, which is something that's better than nothing. But as far as visuals go, I do not know how to get them to show up.
No worries, Joe. If there's a button down there that says start cam or stop cam, and if that's not working, no problem.
Okay,
we're glad to chat with you.
I've got all dressed up, so I want to be on camera.
Yeah. And you know how to dress up too, so that's good.
Okay, here we go. Camera, click. Your device does not support video. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Oh,
I'm gonna kill some people. Okay. Let me try. Oh, you know what it probably is? You have to update your OS, because it's an iPhone and they're stupid. And it probably doesn't work. Hold on, let me do one thing real quick. I know I'm gonna get real ghetto for a second.
No, you're fine. We're just hanging out.
Did your phone have the latest software on it?
We're artists, not
Your phone to make phone calls?
not web streamers.
yeah, right.
Well, Joe worked to try to figure that out. I know that I went to Performing Art Academy and I grew up around LGBTQ artists and poets, and I think that influence really sort of keeps this program close to my heart, and I really appreciate the work that you all do. And it's my go-to. Before all this started, John and I were talking about how we're getting through COVID, and John's been experimenting with some new art, and I play the piano, so I've been playing the piano a lot. trying to just have some music in my life while I can't be hanging out with my friends and stuff.
But your food is your art too. I've seen your beautiful food that you make, and I mean and that's another dimension that we have in our modern society is it's all our pictures of our food that we post on the internet, and that's as much art as anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was recently in a discussion of sacred spaces and how we create sacred spaces around us, and I can just look at what's surrounding you. And I know because I helped paint that office that that's your sacred space. And I think that's another dimension that I would like to explore is the sacred spaces that we create around us. Because artwork hanging on the wall is a sacred space. You walk by it and you look at it and you say, that reminds me of a positive place I've been. Let's see if Joe can come up.
Hey there, Joe. Oh, hey there, Joe.
I'm right here. I'm right here. Yeah.
Should we just go forward with the audio?
I guess we can, as things here are stupid. So yes.
Oh, all right. Well, no worries, Joe. Thank you so much for your time and joining us today. We're so excited to have you with us. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So the first question is really easy. How are you doing other than the technical difficulties? How are you?
I'm insane, but I'm good. Stay healthy. I do my social distancing. I keep away from people, which is probably good on their part. And I am trying to not be as political as I am because I'm like a politics junkie, and I am very angry at both sides, we shall say. So I'm trying to keep calm and not go ballistic on people who are really dropping the ball, and trying to draw more, create more. They say do the things that you can control and not worry about the rest of it. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
That's well, I'm glad you're drawing, and we were just talking before you got here about the ways that we use art as therapy to get us through these difficult times. I play the piano and I draw, and John has been experimenting with some new art as well, and I'm a huge fan of yours. So I've been watching you post all the time for years about your art as it comes through, and I love being able to watch. You sort of will put up your concepts and put up your line drawings and your art. So I just appreciate getting to watch you in that process.
Thank you.
So for those who maybe aren't aware of your work and you as an artist.
Shame on them. Shame on them.
Shame on them.
I know. Oh.
Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, Joe.
Well, after being rocketed to Earth as a small child, I was raised by kindly Black women in the South. I grew up on a little farm when we were very young. When I was very young, and my mother noticed that I could draw well because I would draw the chickens in the yard, things like that. So that was very sweet. And I started. Something just happened.
We still hear you.
Yeah. I think I just did something stupid. As we were talking, I am trying to set up my additional camera, so that's why I seemed like I was just slightly.
No worries.
But anyway, yeah. So I learned I taught myself drawing from books. My mom had like a collection of Disney books, and I was always drawing the characters in them and everything like that. So that was a lot of fun, and it just was one of those things that sort of came naturally to me. It was like a way of coping. Everybody kind of had their own thing, and I kind of grew up in an era when children are seen and not heard. So keep quiet and go do your go entertain yourself. It wasn't like now where everybody's like, oh, we're having play dates and we're doing this and we're doing that. And, it's very, I'm not saying it was a hands-off approach, but it was more of self-reliance.
Yeah, that was, you sound like my parents.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was, so that's how that early childhood sort of went.
Your mom really fostered that and got you the tools to be able to practice your art.
True. To her credit, she was a very young mother. She had me when she was 17. Oh my God, right? Can you imagine having a child at 17? I told her, years ago, I said, I'm lucky I came out with thumbs, I'm like, don't worry, girl, you did a good job. All right. That's kind of like, when you put things in perspective, no matter what happens, you get a better approach to how your life should be, as opposed to, we all kind of have like these pre-programmed wants and needs that really aren't ours. There's somebody else's. There's some bygone era of you're supposed to do this and have a car at 16 and you're supposed to go to the prom and you're supposed to do, and that's not true. And so you have these desires and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, one day you realize that all of that programming and what do you call it? Pent up expectation really is based on something that's fundamentally not for everyone. And so, it's like when you look at this is weird, but when you look at like a group of bees, you can't tell what bee is what. You can't say, well, these are the worker bees. I mean, scientists can, of course, they're smart, but regular people, there's worker bees, there's the guard bees, there's the drone bees and whatnot, but they all look like bees. And that's how we are as humans. We all look like humans, but we don't all have the same end goal. We don't have the same potential. We don't have this, we have our own. And I think when we try to live up to these other aspirations, sometimes our true aspirations get lost in the process. And that's when we become like really unhappy people.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. How we unpack all of that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Joe, you were, I see a lot of the influence of comics and also movies, the movies that I grew up with, the big stars of Hollywood type movies in your work.
Oh, yeah.
I just wonder, when you were growing up, was that something that really influenced you? Things like that?
Yeah. It really did. I think it was one of those things where you have like I grew up in Atlanta, and at the time Ted Turner was an advertising guy, but he's bought this station, TV, these UFH stations and he called them the Superstation, and he would play all of these old movies, and so you would get The Thin Man, and you would get Cagney movies and Betty Davis movies and all these kind of things. So they were on all the time.
Right.
And regular television, things came on at a certain time, and you had to kind of, wait, for a certain day to watch your show and everything like that. But these movies were on all the time, so they would play, one movie maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe not that long. They would play at least, they would play it at least 3 or 4 times in a week. And so, I got to watch all of these things, and that became sort of my exposure to storytelling and, setting, costuming, drama, all that kind of stuff. So that's been like a huge influence.
I know you did some set design and some costume work in college. Have you done any after that?
Very sporadically. I love to work in theater. I mean, if someone's doing a production and they need somebody, give me a call, But I, time-wise and financially, there's a lot of other projects I can do a lot quicker. And so that's kind of what I gravitated toward. but my first love is the theater. I mean, I went to a performing arts school, which was, I don't know if you guys are old enough to know, the movie Fame. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
that old. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was my high school. You know, I mean, that was basically the kind of high school I went to, and learned set design, costuming, makeup, um, storytelling. You know, we worked with the dancers, we worked with the drama department, we worked with the musical department. So we kind of got a lot of exposure, and we actually had a real theater. So it was like, so we had catwalks, which I could tell you stories about catwalks, and they had an orchestra pit, and and it really was a functioning theater, and that early experience, carried on, uh, with some college work, and the next thing I was designing costumes for shows like The Wiz, and the importance of being earnest, and Jesus Christ Superstar, and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
That's I've seen your costumes over the years at Halloween time. Oh my God, they're just incredible.
Thank you.
And we were just sharing, like, before. I also went to Performing Art Academy and did all that set design, costume design, makeup. So I didn't know that you also had that background. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that you kind of once you get it in your blood, it's hard to get out. And I love getting a new musical I've never heard before, and just hearing it and imagining what the sets and the costumes are, and then comparing my sketches to what actually appears when I go see the show. It's fun.
That's awesome.
Now you worked for a couple of studios also, right? Did you do that?
Well, what kind of studios?
Did you work at Disney? Did you ever work at Disney?
No.
No.
I never worked at Disney.
Okay.
And the reason I didn't is because the Disney artists that I do know, they are largely invisible.
Yes.
So if you ask somebody, like a good friend of mine, Dave Woodman, is an animator, but unless you are really a Disney nerd, you would have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
And I like my brother was very much into comic books, and so I thought, well, I could do that. And you have the artist's name right there on the book, and I'm like, okay, well, I like that because we all have a little bit of an ego, and we want to be recognized. And I got into comics, and I worked for probably everybody in the business, really. I've done Marvel Comics, I've done DC Comics, I've done Dark Horse Comics, IDW Comics, and a bunch of comics that have come and gone in the industry. I did Speed Racer, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Justice League, Superman. So I like for a good 20 years plus, I was really steeped in the comic book business.
Well, I love your stuff and your portrayal of characters, and I don't know if you're able to. Are you still able to see me even though I can't see you?
No, I can't see anything.
Oh no!
Oh,
well,
no.
I've got your tarot cards that I got.
Oh, you got the tarot cards.
At Comic-Con. They're so gorgeous, and I'm showing them to the screen. And I got some of your posters at Comic-Con this last year too, and I handed them out to the staff here because I love and your work, and that the tarot deck, the Divine Diversity Tarot deck, is just incredible because you really showcase just a huge diversity of folks and queer intimacy and gender diverse intimacy through that art. And so I really appreciate the time, how much time that and intention that must have taken to make that deck.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it was definitely a passion project. It was one of those things that ever since I was probably 19, I'd always wanted to do a tarot deck. And I've started and stopped a lot of times, but I never, had the final push to do it. And then all of a sudden I was talking to a friend, And he said, just do it. Just do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll just do it. And I started to work on it. And oddly enough, I was going to be working on it with an ex of mine. I know. They're exes for reasons. But the thing is, it was always a competition. And he wanted, like he was going to do the write-up of the character, the card. And I said, well, what you've written sounds just like what everything else is out there. Can you add, just something more unique? And he took that as an offense and didn't want to do the project anymore. I can't work with you. You're always trying to take my power. And I'm like, okay, whatever, crazy. And so I moved, and so there was a little bit of that, uh, you know, you can't say dirty words on here, right?
I mean, it's fine.
So there's a little bit of fuck you. I can do it. I can do it by myself. So there was that. So the initial energy was like, yeah, I don't need you. I never did need you. And so I just started really working with it, and then about 2 or 3 cards in, the cards really start speaking to me as far as really delving past the original iconography and sort of taking some different turns from what symbols, because the symbols, a lot of them were tailored to the time, and then like modern people have a different iconography, and so I said to myself, well, we need to reflect that in the cards, and the other ones were very Eurocentric, and so I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that these had people of all colors and cultures and style, and some of the meanings, were very vague in the iconography of the day. So I said, well, how do we reinterpret this? So I had a sort of group of about 6 tarot readers who've been reading for years, and I would ask them questions, and then they would give me different interpretations of the cards. And I think in looking at a card like the Devil, I chose to have this little girl who is dead, but she meets death as a friend, as a, but not as this scary thing. And death just means it's time to change. You're always, whatever you were doing,
Right.
stop what you're doing. Let's reassess and change. And so I wanted to take away that we're all gonna die feeling from death. The same with the Devil, which is a very passionate card in some way, but the temptation that he leads you astray. When you look at the Devil that I created in the deck, which I did a hetero and a homosexual version, the Devil is it's just a guy wearing a mask. It's not real, and the chains around the people's necks are the chains that they put on themselves. They're loose. You can get out of them. So all of the things. Oh, that's tempting me. It's like, so like all the things that you would imagine. Oh, I'm addicted to sex. Oh, I'm addicted to food. Oh, I'm addicted. You put those limitations on yourself. You can get out of it. I mean, it may take a lot of work, but yeah, they're not those type of passions, or distractions or misdirections, however you want to say, or a part of your own. And so I think that was something I really enjoyed about the deck, and able to sort of pull just a little more meaning for, like, if you were, like, say, a novice reading the tarot, I think you could read my tarot deck just by looking at the pictures without knowing anything about it. You can say, oh, well, this means, or this seems, because I don't necessarily, I'm not like the most spiritual person. I'm not religious. I don't have any kind of, thing about, this, that, and the other thing. But what I do believe is I think that the cards are a conversation. and you can really trigger emotions and words and feelings from people when they see the cards and work with them, that can open up that dialogue that they needed to have with themselves more than anybody else, and start um, seeing other things than what was, kind of clouded by their own prejudices and preconceived notions of yourself, because we all have those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so, you really can tell, and I completely agree with what you said. It's just like the iconography that you use is so contemporary and accessible that it really does tell a story, and that's what the tarot is about, right? You're like, as you stated, that it helps you have a conversation with yourself. And I think that's what really good art does, or any art does, is how do you, not just what is the artist saying, but like what are you saying to yourself when you're looking at art? Um, and so I really appreciate you sharing that depth of your process, and that it was really impressive.
Thank you.
So the next question that we have for you is, in your career, what are the challenges that you faced along the way as a gay Black artist?
That is a good question, and I think I can answer it in sort of like a couple of different parts. One, art is great because it speaks for itself, and if you like the art, then you learn to accept how you get it in a weird way. So the art sort of always led first. People would see it, and then they would see me as the provider of that, and so they were a lot more accepting in a way. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, and with that, you're always the new kid in school, and just like every movie shows, they always want to pick on the new kid or make them act weird or do something. But because I could draw, they always wanted, me to draw a picture, draw this, draw that, and so that was my connection from the jocks to the nerds to the goth kids to the girls, whatever, they all wanted that. And since they all, and so that kind of insulated me in a way, which allowed me to develop a much better sense of the value of art. And I had a couple of good teachers, not necessarily art teachers, but just like teachers of, like, I don't know, little nuggets of wisdom. And one of my teachers said, what is great about art is that you can go to any country and not be able to speak the language, but because you know what art, you know how to draw, you can communicate and get what you need. You can point at them and do a little doodle. You can draw a picture of some food and a face, saying I'm hungry. You can um, uh, see an item and recreate it, and you get a value, and they can understand you. And that really struck a great nerve in my mind, and so that's always been in the back of my head. So as far as, and I grew up also in the South, and which, to say it's very racist is not the same as, just, yes, there are people who just call out, they racist. They'll call you the N-word and whatever, driving down the street. It didn't happen every day, but it happened enough that it, you're not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And I've definitely gone to places where I knew I was the only Black person who had been there in a while, or been there in a capacity that I wasn't, the help kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just being confident in yourself that, you know that you belong. And they don't want to necessarily come right out and just be racist, but they can't help themselves, because it's, it's like it sometimes it's more racial preference, because they don't know any better, and they will and then I become their gateway black person.
Mm.
They start getting other friends now that they know that we're not going to bite them.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so knowing that, but one thing else about with the art is since the art goes into publication and what. There's you don't go into it like when I worked at Marvel or DC or what they didn't have a I didn't have to go into an office. You mail your work in, so you work from home. So you don't have any kind of necessary prejudice from an editor. Can you meet your deadlines? Can you give me what I asked for? And if you can do that, I mean, I'm sure there are some people who have an issue. But sort of in that market, you're going to run across so many more types of people. It's because it's a creative field, and it's very hard to not run into Jewish people or black people or different ethnicities and cultures, because that's the nature of the beast. So I think it was not so much. And as I traveled and we would meet up, and they were like, "Oh, and not like, oh, I didn't know you were black." They don't say it, but that's what they're thinking. Uh, so so yeah, it definitely is one of those things where uh, you're aware of it, but at the same time, and then the third thing is there is a slight pressure from the community itself that if you're black, you should only do black subjects. You
Mm.
should, you're one of us. You should uh, do work that reflects us, and I appreciate that, and the people who do that, I think it's great. But I also uh, believe more so in that we are all people, and therefore there should be that diversity should be, throughout your life. It shouldn't just be a segment of your life. It should be your whole life. So you should, if you look at your friends list and 89% of them are one thing, you may want to adjust that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that can be anything. I mean, you could, gay people can have too many gay friends and not enough straight friends, or some over masculine guys cannot have any women friends. It's like, look at your life, and when you start realizing that you're, you know, because you need to know another person's journey, so you can find something um, that attaches. And I'll kind of give an example. You asked me a question earlier about the old movies and stuff. People say, oh well, because they didn't have a whole lot of black people in those. No, there were some black movies, and they did show those, and I watched those too. But uh, the thing is the personalities and the attitudes of the people I could still identify with. It wasn't, you don't have to be my color or gender for me to identify with your situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people really get that feeling that, well, I didn't see any black people, so I didn't think it was for me. Well, no, it could be for you. You just need to see past that because, um, you know, black people are a construct. White people are a construct that people have agreed to. Um, but we all can breed together, so we're not different things. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
you can't breed with a monkey because the monkey is not a human. Cats and dogs can't breed together, and you get some kind of quag or whatever you would call it. They're different things, but a cat, no matter if it's a black cat, a black and white cat, a striped cat, they all can mate and have more cats. It's same, so um, I think that that reality really um, is really hard for a lot of people to identify with because there's so much systemic uh, racism in the world. and sexism and colorism. So, those things have to be addressed before you get the connection, before you get that. And a lot of people, a lot of people, can find it locally. People who have different relationships one-on-one. But as a society, we definitely need to put more of that out there. So so in my work, I try to incorporate as many different people in it, so it has a broader appeal.
Joe, is there any advice you would give to a young artist or young person who is looking to get into the art field?
Yeah, I go with your passion. Get exposed to as many artists that inspire you as you can. Find a new artist where and when you can, and that can just be going to the library. Do people still go to the library? But yes, go to the library, open up a book, and what you guys can't see because I've got like a ton of books. I have I was gonna set it up, but of course you can't see me now because I don't know how to make my camera work. Anyway, but yeah, so you have the and discover artists that inspire you and sort of read about their journey. What did they do? Success leaves trails, and so with that exposure and steeping yourself in the work, practice daily, and I think I know that I know that they're super simple, but yeah, those are the ones I think that's the most important. And don't fall in love, with your own artwork. Okay, that's just weird, because then you get your ego gets bruised when someone says, "Oh, I don't like that picture," and you're like, "Well, you don't like me," and it's like, no, yeah.
For sure. Now you're working on a new project right now, or about to release a new project.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yeah. You want to fill us in on a little bit about that and when it might be available?
Well, when it might be available because of the pandemic is a little questionable, but
okay.
So because I can say, oh, it's coming out this fall, which will it? It's I mean, they don't have a cure for coronavirus yet, so people are like, I want to go outside, whatever, people still are catching it and still dying, and so the world's not the same as it used to be. So when it's going to come out, I'm not quite sure, but I am taking this great opportunity in time to actually work on it, because usually I can't afford me.
Yeah, right. Can't pay the minimum wage for myself, right?
Right. No, exactly. When you think about it, like one of the early lessons I learned is that there is a daily cost to living, and I have to make my daily costs or more, so that so if I make more, then I get a free day. But if I haven't made that amount, then I can't. Then I can't. So if I'm working on this comic book, I don't get paid for that. I don't make any money from it. So every page I do has to be one of my free days. And since there is no money, period, coming in because of the coronavirus, people aren't buying artwork and whatnot. It's like, well, in the meantime, I will work on my own project, and so that's the opportunity. It is called I'm married a superhero,
Right.
and I am doing an openly gay character that marries a superhero, sort of like Bewitched, where Darren married a witch and all the wacky hijinks. Well, that's what happens in this book. It's all the wacky hijinks of a regular person marrying a superhero and their world and how they navigate it. And I wanted to show it as every day as you can, and not, I'm not necessarily pushing any agenda, but I am pushing it right in your face so you get to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, is that character gay? Is he not? Is it about? Nope. I married a superhero. You know, it's an interracial couple. There's a black guy and there's a white guy. So you know the you know that's in your face. You got dealing with parents. You know how do you deal with you know people being married and expectations? Are you going to have kids? Are you not going to have kids? You know where you work. You know how do you manage and things like that. So all of those little slices of life are in there, and I so in a weird way the book writes itself. You know, I just think of a problem or a situation that you know you would have in that type of thing, and you know I've got 20 issues right there. You know, how do you deal with you know you know your grandpa who's like got Alzheimer's, but he also is you know he also was a superhero back in the 30s, and he's super strong, and he wanders out of the old folks home and he knocks over buildings, you know, and so it's like how do you deal with that? And so you know that laugh you gave is a great example of why I love this project. It makes me smile. And I'm really excited to put out something that's me, if that makes any sense. And it's like,
Yes.
you know, yeah, I mean, I've drawn Superman, I've drawn Wonder Woman, I've drawn the X-Men, you know, all of those things. You know, so they are fun, and that's fine, but they don't put anything in my pocket, if that makes any sense. You know, I mean, I may get a royalty check once in a while, but they but I don't have any equity, and the community doesn't get any equity. And I think this book, if it's successful, will definitely give visibility and may open the door for other types of stories because you know you don't want to just have a one-dimensional world, you know, where everybody is perfect. You want to have a world that shows some of the flaws, but you can show the flaws in a lighthearted way because there's so much negativity out there. So I think this hopefully will make people laugh and think and have a conversation, and you know, 10 years from now, you know, it's a staple, of comic literature and or a TV show. Who knows? Who knows?
Yes, TV show.
I know, right?
I'm ready for the movie to come.
Okay.
Feature film for sure.
I know, right?
When you first started posting the studies, I got really excited, and as you posted more, it's so great to see. And I know you can't see us, but we've been posting some of the images that you've shared on
Awesome.
Facebook, and really excited about this project. I can't wait to buy it.
Thank you. Me too. You know, it's so funny. You know, like when I first started doing the gay artwork or gay centered artwork, you know, you had people that all they had was sex drawings. You know, they did. It was only like if it was a gay drawing, it was only the sex drawings. There was no coffee table, you know, regular day gay positive drawings. And so I said, well, instead of complaining about that, why don't I do that? Why don't I do that? And so that's when I started, you know, doing those kind of comic, you know, just regular comics and little romantic love pieces and the calendars and things like that, because you know we need to see us do regular things. You know, you don't necessarily always need to see, you know, these fantasy places and oh, there's you know centaurs and dragons and stuff, which is great. And don't get me wrong, I love that too. But you know, just gay guys going grocery shopping, or you know, being cute and silly. I think culturally we need to see that. You know, we need to see those things just so that we, you know, our regular day-to-day lives, uh, you know, you find that magic moment yourself. You find that little, oh, that's a sweet, you know, that reminds me of a Joe Phillips cartoon. You know, or you know that little scene pops in your head like, oh, there's the boys having a car wash, and you've seen the one with the girls and the bikinis. Well, let's have some boys in speedos. All right, there you go.
I appreciate that.
we all do. We all do for sure.
I know. Right?
So
I don't even have a car, and I said, no, I'm joking. Wash me down, boys. Wash me down.
Well, we're reaching our last question, and it's just really simple. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? You know, times have been hard for a lot of different reasons, and any last things or thoughts you'd like to share with the people who are watching?
Well, one of the things I guess really just takes, this is a great opportunity to take stock of you and your surroundings. Do spring cleaning. Remove things in your life, because now since you're away from toxic people, you're away from toxic jobs, you're away from some of the things that were stressing you out and making you crazy. Don't go and put them on your plate again. Be a lot more careful with what you have, because just recently I had a buddy just up and die, just boop, gone, and super healthy, did all the things you're supposed to do, and then all of a sudden you're talking to him one day, 2 days later, gone. And it's like, tomorrow is not promised to us. So if you're waiting for Corona to leave, or you're waiting for this guy to show up, or you're wasting your time. You really have to find something within yourself to work on that makes it better for you. And that could be working out at home. That could be learning a new language, teaching yourself how to cook. Take this time to sort of really take stock of what you want and who you are, because I think that'll translate way more. And I think that's kind of where I came up with my book. Like I say, write what you want to see, and I want to see happy gay couples in other parts of media, and so that's what I started to work on. Yeah.
Well, that's all wonderful, and I just really, Joe, I'm such a huge fan again, and many of us here at Pride really are. And I know you can't see us, but we've been showing your artwork the whole time, as well as links to your website, joephillips.com, to encourage folks to go and purchase your beautiful art. Keep it up. You're doing amazing things. You're inspiring a lot of folks, and I know that I Married a Superhero is going to inspire that many more. So thank you so much, Joe, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that we couldn't get the video to work, but oh well.
Oh well.
Well, I look forward to when we can all be together again, and we'll do the Art of Pride with your art here in the building like we were supposed to this year. So that time will come.
Yes, for sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Joe, John, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Talking to both of you, always.
Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is our first Art of Pride series with Joe Phillips, and the person who runs the program, John Keasler, has been an incredible lifelong activist here in San Diego. We'll be doing more of these Art of Pride features as we go along to highlight more LGBTQ artists right here from inside our community. Please join us tomorrow as we honor the memory of the lives that were lost in the Pulse Massacre in 2016. We'll be joined by regional Latinx activists and leaders in the community to honor the lives of the 49 lives that we lost 4 years ago in the Pulse Massacre. Thank you so much for joining us today. As all of our programs have moved to virtual online spaces, you can learn more about those at sdpride.org/events or sdpride.org/donate. And if you're appreciating the programming that we're doing, please feel free to donate and become a monthly supporter at San Diego Pride at sdpride.org/donate. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Pride season, and together we rise. Thank you so much. Have a great day.